it's like, wait a second, you start doing the math, and it's not mathing correctly, right? So you realize that it's a lot of lonely, long nights, right?
This is Joe Martin, Executive Director of Texas High School Coaches Association, and I want to welcome you to another season of our podcast. As we get started, I wanted to remind you of our Educate, Excel, Play campaign, designed to protect education-based athletics. What we do matters. Education-based athletics are a vital part of Texas communities, and we ask all coaches to be intentional in protecting what makes Texas so great. We also want to encourage coaches to stay engaged in the Texas way. We saw significant improvement in sportsmanship this fall, and we want to continue that momentum throughout the rest of the year. Remember, engagement is more than just signing up. Watch the videos and share the messages with your athletes and parents for the programs to be very, truly impactful. And one final reminder. Make plans now to attend your THSCA regional meeting on Saturday, February 7th. Each region will have 2 locations to choose from, giving you the opportunity to connect with coaches in your region, stay up to date on important THSCA programs, and help select regional award winners. Thank you for standing with the THSCA and for the work you do every day, because together we are helping coaches help kids.
This episode of the Coach's Call podcast is presented by ANSRS, ANSRS, the fastest, most accurate data and video management system in football, used by major college programs and high schools all across Texas. Instant insights from ANSRS speeds up the game planning process during the week, ensures that the tendency data is accurate, and provides play callers with real confidence to make the best calls during the game. Visit www.answers.ai, that's ANSRS.ai, to learn how ANSRS can help you gain a real competitive advantage next season. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Coach's Call. I'm Chris Doelle, and joining me today is Jon Shalala from ANSRS. Coach, or should I say Coach? How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great. No, I'm temporarily retired, but yeah, may get back into it at some point.
I love it. Well, before we talk about ANSRS, and we're going to talk about ANSRS because ANSRS is the title sponsor this season. So we're going to hear about y'all throughout the year, but this is kind of a focus on ANSRS. But first, let's go back to when you were a coach and talk about that, from your playing days to your coaching days. Give us the background.
Yeah, so I grew up in Sugar Land, Texas. Went to Kempner High School and Fort Bend ISD. Played for Coach James Brown, and really had a great experience there. Won a lot of games and all that stuff. Ended up leaving Texas and going to Grandview University in Des Moines, Iowa. Where I played quarterback there. We ultimately ended up winning a national championship there. Really, they did a nice job in Iowa of bringing a bunch of the Houston and Dallas kids up there to play. And so we kind of built that program from scratch. And now they're a perennial powerhouse now. Just won the national championship again this season. And then really just my coaches growing up, whether it was Coach James Brown or the Woodleys at Grandview, I ended up getting into coaching. So I went to my first job was when I was still in college as a senior. In my second semester, I went and became an intern for the Iowa Barnstormers
Nice.
in the AFL.
Yeah,
And then,
I covered them. Not Iowa, but the whole AFL.
Yeah, no. So I was an intern, and during training camp, the O-line coach actually went down. He got sick. He had he had some illness, and so I ended up taking over, kind of babysitting the offensive line, in the meantime, and the head coach kind of just decided to make me the O-line coach. So I was a quarterback, my whole life, still in college, and I found myself coaching the offensive line in the AFL. And I was probably 5 years younger than the players at the
Yeah.
time. But it was cool. I mean, yeah, that's kind of when I decided that I knew I wanted to coach.
Yeah.
Kind of had a technology background. I was doing some stuff in college with that, but that's also where I kind of started, realizing what all the coaching world, whether it was, film breakdown and all that
Mhm.
different stuff. So I kind of learned that there, but then ended up going to, Arizona Western. I became the offensive line coach at a junior college in Yuma, Arizona. And I was there for a season, by chance met Butch Jones. He came through recruiting. I was in the right place, right time, doing the right thing. Met Butch Jones, Bob Shoop, Steve Stripling, Robert Gillespie, all these guys came in to recruit from the University
Mhm.
of Tennessee, and they offered me a graduate assistant job pretty much on the spot. And I packed my bags in Yuma and drove out to Knoxville, Tennessee. So yeah, I was there for 3 years, and then graduated from there. Finished my graduate assistant with Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt. Ended up finishing off with Jeremy Pruitt. Went to Mississippi State with Mike Leach. Was there for a couple years, and then as a quality control guy. And then I became the linebackers coach at Arkansas State when Butch Jones got that job, and I was there for 3 seasons, and kind of somewhere in between, which we'll get into, I started building answers, and it got to a point where it was time for me to step away and give it my full attention.
Nice. And before we get into answers, let's talk about the background,
Yeah.
set the scene. And the scene is basically define what your time, how it was spent as a coach, and really, what were the most demanding parts, because that's kind of what answers is an answer to.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Answers is a workflow, coaching tool, from that standpoint. But really, what it ultimately became is when I was a player, you're kind of blinded by all the things the coaches are doing, right? You think that the ball just rolls out and everything's,
Yeah.
everyone just lines up and plays, right? But there's a lot of background, and behind the scenes work that goes into it, right? And I think I started to understand that when I was with the Iowa Barnstormers of, okay, hey, this playbook, people are drawing playbooks, people are tagging film, people are, cutting the film, people are uploading film, all these different things. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on, building call sheets, those type of things. And then really, getting to Arizona Western, I was still, in the entry level of like, it wasn't really the big football machine yet,
Mhm.
right? So it's still kind of still coaching ball, right? You're still kind of, doing some work, but really for the most part, you're just coaching ball. But then when it got to Tennessee, I'm like, okay, I see what this is like, right? I'm a
Yeah.
graduate assistant. I'm tagging film. This is before a lot of the technologies that exist today that kind of, automate a lot of that stuff, pre-answers, pre other companies that exist. But it was really where it's, you're tagging film, blank. You're just
Yeah.
starting, you're getting a game, and the defensive coordinator is going to walk in, at 6 a.m., right? And basically expect to watch a full broken down opponent, right? And it's like, well, then, the time, you're like, wait a second, we just finished playing at, at 8 p.m., 3:30 p.m. SEC game. It's like, wait a second, you start doing the math, and it's not mathing correctly, right? So you realize that it's a lot of lonely, long nights,
Yeah.
right? And and that's really what it is at that level, right? It's a lot of really finding the details that
Yeah.
guys are hanging their hats on, right? So yeah, that's really where it all started, was that Tennessee Mississippi State sweet spot of really doing a lot of that work. And it's kind of, it was time to do something about it
Yeah.
there.
And you mentioned Coach Leach. Talk about him because he's a systems guy.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him when it comes to problem solving and thinking maybe outside the box?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, the big thing that Leach was about is he'd always challenge guys like, if you truly understood something, and you knew something from a fundamentals, from a concept standpoint, you could clearly and articulately talk about it, right, and teach it. He was an excellent teacher, right? Very simple concepts, very simple, culture. It wasn't a lot of bells and whistles, right? But it was consolidated, very condensed, very straightforward. Now, as far as his thought process, he did like kind of welcome, creativity and original thought, right? He really appreciated that, right? Like, you'd have a conversation with him, it was rarely about football. And the reason why is because he saw football from such like a simplicity point of view
Yeah.
that he didn't really think that like, hey, it kind of it's man or it's zone. Like, like a lot of one time when we're watching film and people are talking, oh, this is quarter half, they're playing stub, they're playing stubby, they're playing palms. And he's like, wait a second. Is it man or is it zone? And then and it's just like, and everyone stops because he's right.
Yeah.
It's like you're and so and it's just you kind of learn at that point. It's like we as humans start to overcomplicate things
Yep.
versus the way Leach saw it. It was more of, storytelling, like different, and then simplifying the football side, but everything else was very he was very historical, right? So he'd
Yeah.
relate different events during the season to different historical events and things like that. So it kept you engaged, but the football side was static, right? It was
Yeah.
very, is kind of it was, what it was. That's why he was so good at that for so long.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I understand when COVID hit, he had an interesting comment that he shared. If you could explain that and
Yeah.
how that affected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it was really he just got there, and it was about a 2 months, into his, kind of regime. So I was with Joe Moorhead, and with the previous staff. Joe got fired, Leach got hired. Leach actually kept me a series of events, kind of knew some people. He kept me on. Wanted to consolidate and shrink in the staff because we had a big support staff. But long story short, we worked a couple months, but then we went on spring break, right? And so I go to Houston or wherever I go, come back, and a staff meeting gets called, okay, and brings us in. Not a huge staff at the time, and he and we never had staff meetings, right? Never. I mean,
Yeah.
Lee wasn't a big staff meeting guy, and he's just like, hey, we talked to the AD. Sounds like they're going to close down school for an extended period of time. D will the ops guy will be in contact with you guys. Feel free to kind of stay here, go or go elsewhere. I'm going to go back to Key West. And he kind of had some talking points, but then he said I'm going to leave you with this. If there was ever something that you wanted to do, but you never had the time to do it, now is your time to go do that thing.
I love
You
that.
know, and it like and I don't know if anybody was listening. I don't even know if anyone remembers it. There's a couple guys in there that like I like my buddies that still coach, some of the guys at Clemson, some of the guys at other places, and I'm like, do you remember when he said that? They're like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, no, I like that when he said that, I like hit like a different universe. Like, because
Yeah.
it's like at that moment in time, it's like everybody always says, "Oh, if I just had the time," it's like if I just had, X amount of dollars or whatever, right? It's like the saying people use. It was a perfect opportunity because as a football coach, your life does kind of get put on pause a little
Yeah.
bit, right? Because of COVID. So, maybe not the real world doesn't necessarily get put on pause, but the football world did. And so yeah, at that moment in time, I knew exactly what the system needed to be. I was tinkering with it over the last couple years. I knew what the company was going to be called. I mean, it all kind of came together right there, and I packed my bags as soon as I could and drove back to Texas.
Nice, nice. So as it sounds like that's the spark for getting answers really into something instead of just this little side project. But
Yeah.
you know, you're sitting there at your mom's house in Houston. What was the first problem you wanted to solve with answers?
Yeah. Yeah, no. So really the big thing with answers was what I was doing when I was a GA and QC. I think the coaches listening to this are all gonna kind of be like, oh yeah, I have something like that. Like
Yeah.
I had a little, like a Excel spreadsheet that would automate something, right? And then it's
Hmm.
like I had maybe this report that, like a defensive coordinator that like Jeremy Pruitt liked that I didn't want to make every week, so I automated it, right?
Yep.
I was pretty good at doing those different little projects, and I had a bunch of those different files. I had things that practice scripts and kind of just these things that automated some of that stuff. Well, my first order of business was taking all that information that I had, whether it was Excel spreadsheets, different reports from different softwares, different things that I saw that I liked, and really consolidating it into one Excel spreadsheet, and then taking that and really building out the really the criteria and the different requirements that was going to be answers, right? I spent a lot of time of mocking things up on different softwares of really what it's going to look like, right? And making this Excel spreadsheet be able to do what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to auto-populate information. I wanted it to build reports. I wanted to be able to use it in game. I wanted to do all these different things with it. So I really spent all my time learning that because I knew if I can get Excel to do it,
Yep.
it would be easier for me to pass it off to an engineer when I got back to school, which was my plan, was to get back, work on this, get back to school whenever it was going again, and then try to put it in play.
Yeah, it sounds like we're very similar in that, when I come up with a situation, I look for a technological way to solve it.
Yeah,
But I'm also looking at the business model.
yeah.
Were you looking at the business model from the get-go?
Yeah, no, like really at the when I wasn't before I mean I loved coaching. I mean coaching was who I the only thing I knew was football at that time,
Yeah.
right? I was a football player, football coach. So at the before that I was just like how can I be like I'm a GAQC type of guy. I want to become a position coach. I then want to become a coordinator, then be a head coach. But like in order to do that, I have to be the literally the best in the building, right? I am competing against everybody in this room, right? Like and so really what it was about was it was having that mentality. And so trying to do like automate all those things to have my job be so efficient and to everyone see that and how detailed it was. But then once Leach kind of set the stage there, that's when it struck it like, well, I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get this thing together and try to get it. If I can get it functional, right, and it can do if it does what I think it does, I'm turning this into a company, right? So it's like I didn't really know it was going to be answers until probably about halfway through COVID. Um, and I realized like, oh, I think people would want to buy this,
Yeah.
and so
Totally.
and so yeah, and I knew it was gonna. I mean, Answers was what was the name. It's just kind of one of those things that kind of hits you, right? And there's just no other. You don't kind of think about anything else, right? From a naming standpoint, but that's really when that all came together.
Yeah, and you talk about the name being obvious to you, but for coaches who right now are hearing about it for the first time, walk us through what is Answers? What does it offer?
Yeah, so Answers obviously, from a naming standpoint, the reason why it was I say it was so obvious for that, right? It's like in football, right? It is about like responding, right, and finding answers to whatever happens, right? You
Yeah.
watch a TV broadcast, okay, it's like, hey, this coordinator needs to find answers, right? This, he's got to have an answer for this, an answer for that, right? Like that's really where the name stems from. But really, what it is a data and video management system, right? That integrates with your current video system, whether it's Huddle, Catapult, DV
Hmm.
Sport, right? Integrates with it. We're able to run algorithms on your data to auto-populate a lot of key data points, so you can save time, right? And then there's calculations that are running for different efficiencies, explosive play statistics, things like that. But then from the data engine, you can dynamically filter really against anything and then make reports, right? Which I talk about, a deliverable to the coach. I want to be able to take something out of Answers, give it to a coach. He can look at it and then make a decision on what he wants to do from a game planning process, right? So the biggest thing is, auto-populating data, kind of compiling that information, building reports. All those reports are tied back to video, right? And it's really a system that is built, for the coach's workflow on a daily basis in the office. Now, there's also a in-game product as well,
Mhm.
right? And so there's two different products. We want it to be a system that coaches are using 365 days a year, right? It's not just a little thing you use on Saturdays or Fridays. It's something you're using Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, I've found with tech, gather all the data, but the real magic, the real voodoo of tech and data is pulling useful information out
That's right.
and telling a story because, like you
Yeah,
said, the coach just needs an answer. He
that's
doesn't
right.
need a
That's right.
pile of data. So talk to me about that and what the coaches get out of it, maybe the different position coaches, what their
Yeah.
benefit is. Hey coaches, did you know we're now offering shows for all sports? That's right, whether it's basketball, volleyball, softball, baseball, football, soccer, you name it, we've got you covered. If you're looking for a way to showcase your program, promote your players, and highlight the amazing things happening with your team, our coaches shows are the perfect solution. Plus, our business model lets you or your booster club raise money while building excitement and support for your program. Don't miss the opportunity to take your team's story to the next level. Find out how you can get your very own coaches show. Reach out to Chris at 713-269-4620 today. That's 713-269-4620 because every team deserves the spotlight. So talk to me about that and what the coaches get out of it, maybe the different position coaches, what their
Yeah.
benefit is.
Yeah. So like, first thing, we like to hang our hat on is, formational hit charts, right? Like, so from a defensive, offensive standpoint, however you see it, right? Answers will take that data that's pulled from your system, develop a hit chart, right? Formational hit chart that then obviously can be filtered, printed out, whatever you want to do, but it's also all tied to video. So if you click on anything, it'll be able to pull up that exact cut up or playlist, right, that's associated with it, right? So like that's one thing we hang our hat on. The system can also scan the entire database and find tendencies, right? So as soon as the film's broken down, you pull it in, and now the system can scan things. Okay, hey, look, this is in this situation, hey, it's heavy run pass here, it's down in distance formationally, all the different components that the system can search to find those run pass tendencies, right off the get-go, right? So like you're not starting and finding some detail that maybe you could have built a game plan around it on Wednesday. You're finding it on Sunday, right? You're finding it, in advance so that you can obviously implement that game plan faster, so the kids can execute, at a higher, percentage to be accurate. So like a lot of things that coaches can do in Answers is build, custom reports, right? So whatever's, really they need, right? Whatever tendency reports or self scout reports or opponent scout reports they need, that's what Answers is used to build those custom reports in there, and then everything's tied back to their video.
Nice. And out of the output that it creates, what percentage would you say is stuff they normally would have done, but would have taken more time to do versus information they didn't know they had access to, and it's all
Yeah.
new to them?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of that stuff. So, just give you an example. A lot of the things that Answers does is it'll group different things together. So, for instance, twins formation. Well, twins formation is a 2-by-1 formation. It's a two back formation. All the different things that can auto populate off of that, answers will auto populate so that you can group that information together and find what I always talk about is like, if you look at everything so detailed from a data standpoint, you'll get lost in it, right? Because there's going to be so many different variables. So one thing Answers tries to do is it tries to naturally group things together so that you can speak back as a coaching staff or to your kids in absolutes. Meaning, hey, look, in 3-by-1 gun week, this is what they're gonna do, right? And this is what the data says. It tells a story here. It's not just like, oh, out of trips, this, that, and then now you're trying to find it, and you ultimately end at, oh, hey, 3-by-1 gun week, right, is 100% pass, right? Or whatever the case is, right? Answers kind of helps facilitate that process, so that you're not just looking at data and then ultimately clicking around until you figure that information out, right?
Yeah, and talk about the flip side of that as looking at your own data, going, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I've got a tendency I didn't realize I had.
No doubt. We have we have a report called Tendency Finder, and that's really what it does, right? It's like the objective of that is, hey, obviously open up your games from the whole season, kind of open up Tendency Finder and just see what it says, right?
Mhm.
You might see something that you're like, yeah, that's actually we want that tendency, right? Because
Yeah.
we want to, I mean, that's what we do out of that formation or whatever, and that's fine. But it's really just about having that information. Whether or not you do something about it is totally up to you. But yeah, it's from a coverage standpoint, from a self scout standpoint, whatever those things are. The system is kind of is built really to tailor the specific needs you need.
Nice. And then, that's completely easy to understand when it comes to game prep and stuff like that. Talk about practice, how it can help in practice.
Yeah, so a couple things in practice, right? There's the post practice work that a lot of guys do because the data will auto populate. So, for instance, if you have a huddle call, so let's say stomp right, cut cowboy, right? Well, if you were to paste that or put that in answers, type in answers, however you want to do it, it can auto populate and break down that data so it's in each respectable field,
Mhm.
right? Like in each column, so that data can easily be uploaded to the video system, so you don't have to tag every single column. So that's one thing, right? You can kind of autofill or expand, put everything in one column, and it breaks it down in all the other columns, right? So that's the first thing from a practice prep. Now, some teams like Allen High School and some other teams will actually use our in-game product in practice. And what they do is it's instant replay during practice, right? So for instance, is like that's our in-game tool is the Answers Adjust, right? Which is our in-game system. Well, spring ball or fall camp, right? In the season, maybe or maybe not so much, but fall camp, spring ball, yeah, you want to be able to have the guys be able to grab an iPad, after a period of practice and kind of flip through, their plays, right? So we create a local area network with our system, and guys can use that in practice as instant replay.
I love that. And you mentioned Answers integrating with video platforms like Huddle, DB Sport, stuff like that. One, how difficult was that? And also, you see companies like Huddle offering their own versions of pieces of this.
Yeah.
How does that work, and why is Answers the way to go?
Yeah, well, we have the best engineers on planet Earth. I mean, James Waters and those guys are the best on Earth. So really, how like you talk about how it works. Yes, a lot of the companies do have their own little analytical platforms, different reports. The things that it's just like anything. It's like we major in that.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we focus on. That's who we are. So from a fundamental standpoint, the way the system's built, is since we major on the data, on the reports, and the video is just secondary to being able to watch the plays associated with that information. We kind of let how we see the partnerships with those companies is we let them focus on the video aspect of, maybe sharing the video, maybe, those type of things. They have pools now where, leagues have different pools with the video.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what we allow them to focus on, while in the meantime, we just go access that information and the coaches are kind of using our system. Kind of think of it like QuickBooks, right? For an accountant, those guys are being able to kind of build this infrastructure however they want with their own data and video.
Nice, nice. Talk about the importance of that aspect, the working into existing workflows rather
Yeah.
than having to, coaches want to coach. They don't want to learn a whole new way to do things.
No, yeah. No, yeah. And that's really the thing. Like we didn't want to build a something that's we always talk about, like, we don't want to provide a product that we think is cool, right? That we
Yeah,
think is just like, oh, it's a really cool tool. Like, no, we wanted to build something that actually helped a coach and got them. Like, that's the whole point of the company, right? The whole point
mhm,
of the company, like, like, there's technology, there's this, there's that. At the end of the day, I want to help football coaches because I was one of them. I saw the effects that all that time spent had on their lives, right? It's like there's a lot of unnecessary work that goes involved. So the biggest thing is I want to help a coach, and we don't want to overcomplicate their workflow or their
yeah,
job, right? It's like everyone's going to go and do things in this platform and that platform. We kind of want to hone it all in and streamline it. And instead of building a report from scratch in Excel, hey, here it is in Answers, right? And then you can manipulate it in Answers. You can save it. You can always have it, right? If you go to a new school, well, that stuff just comes with you. You
yeah,
don't have to worry about, hey, I lost that Excel sheet back from '98 that, I made. It doesn't,
yeah.
now that's all it's all centralized in one platform now.
Nice. And talk about your install base, who has started using it already.
Yeah, so being from Texas, right? We're Texas-based company, right? Grew up, born and raised here. When I got out of coaching, wanted to move back here. So I'm based out of Austin. We're based out of Austin. We got a company, of 25 folks that most are Texas based, but really, we have, Vandergrift High School, Allen High School, South Lake Carroll, a bunch of the Austin schools here at Westlake, and Deer Park, Houston Memorial, Cinco Ranch, a lot of those schools, just in the different areas
Right.
of Texas. Now we do have outside of state, Bergen Catholics, IMGs, those type of schools. In other states. But then obviously in the college game, we're, extremely big, right? I mean, you got all the Texas colleges, Houston, SMU, TCU, Baylor, Texas, UTSA, and then you go, Clemson, Nebraska, Florida State, Miami, Texas Tech, and so forth, right? So
Nice.
so we were able to, put together a, really good sales force and kind of distribute this thing, pretty quick for as young as the company is.
Yeah. If you could tell me a real world moment or a story that kind of captures the impact that Answers has had for a program.
Well, I'll just give you I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'll give you one that just happened today. It's let's see, it's January 6th in the middle of the portal, okay? In the middle of the
Yep.
portal, storm that everybody's seen, right? Well, I get a call, right, that I wasn't expecting to talk to Coach Morris, right? Coach Chad Morris for a
Yeah.
while, right? He actually worked with us at Answers, but he moved on to Clemson, obviously
Yep.
as offensive coordinator, right? Well, he calls me today and he's like, "Hey, I'm in the middle of an official visit, all right, but I have two QCs, all right, and I need you, right, to get them get everything organized. I need all my data from Catapult. I need it into Answers. I need to be able to configure the system. I want to start using it and teaching them how to use it this week so that we're ready for spring ball in March. And I'm like, well, you still got a lot of time. And it's like, but it's like his absolute main priority, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
got they got quarterbacks on campus, they got wide receivers to sign, they got
I
deals
got
to
to get
make.
answers running.
I got to get Answers rolling, right? And it's just, and it's not, that's not like, that's not staged, that's not
Sure.
like fake, right? That's like the dude, like I have three grown men running around with their head cut off at Clemson because Chad Morris walks in and is like, guys, I don't care what you guys do this week, get Answers squared away, right? Because I'm gonna once this portal's going, that's what we're doing. So
Yeah.
just get ready for it, And so I think like for me, yeah, you ask about that. It's just when you start, experiencing things like that, or even SMU calling me today, hey, their coordinators got up and went to be the head coach at Missouri State. Now they got new coordinators coming in, and some of the QCs left to go to Missouri State. So they got new QCs coming in, and they're like, they know that they're going to have to either learn it or start implementing it. So now they're calling me, hey, can I get the login? I need to start
Yeah.
practice. It's because they know what's coming down the pipe whenever football gets started again, right? So I think like just kind of realizing the impact that it has within the building, where it kind of puts people where they gotta start to implement it or learn it, or else they're not going to be able to do their job, right? Is
Right.
is to me is pretty impactful because it's like that's the whole point of the software, right?
Yeah.
Was to be something that's so ingrained that's just the thing you use
Yeah.
every.
Yeah. And you started by mentioning high school teams. If you could first talk about the value of that and why that's important to you to serve multiple levels, but then
Yeah.
give me a story at the high school level too.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, just the simple fact of just and like it isn't something that I take lightly. I mean, Texas high school was one of the best experiences that I had in my life, right?
Yeah.
Like had a great high school football coach, had a great high school football experience, and I know just from growing up around those guys and being coached by them, and then obviously moving on to coach it, with some of the brightest minds in football, you realize how good of teachers, right, coaches are in Texas, right? It's like a lot of guys know different scheme. Maybe some college guys know more scheme than some, but as far as fundamentally being teachers,
Mhm.
you really you realize how good they are, right? And so when it was Texas, since Texas is so ingrained in football, obviously, being such a high level product, I wanted to be able to reach the Texas high school coaches first,
Yep.
right? It's the closest level to college in the world.
Yep.
So that's that first and foremost. Really, the thing about high school is, yes, the game planning is extremely important. It is a lot of the guys, the Chase Hargises of the world at Allen, right? Lee Wigington, Drew Sanders, right? These guys are very detail oriented and very thorough as far as the game planning process. Some guys may or may not be that, but what they are is in game, right? It's extremely important at the high school level, and it's not that it's not in college, but the thing about high school is, there may be just a wrinkle that somebody puts in like that week, or maybe they're running a couple different plays, or they're doing something a little bit different, and maybe you don't have as many eyes on it as you do in college, right? Because you don't have as big a staff, you don't have as much talent like in the box, maybe you got
Mhm.
some middle school guys or whatever the case is. The in-game video product is really where I saw that it has a tremendous upside at the high school level, because I saw that how coaches can actually adjust during the game or at halftime faster than they've never done before. Like I'm
Mhm.
able to in real time listen to Vandergrift's defensive coordinator talking to Drew Sanders, talking about how we need to change the way we're setting the front because of a particular run play they're running during in the middle of a drive. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like because of instant replay, right? And it's like that's something that that doesn't happen very often. And now it's like it's ingrained. Like Drew Sanders is so like heavily involved in the in-game video piece because
Yeah.
it's completely changed the way he coached, right? Because he's like, I at halftime, I don't need to talk to anybody, just give me my iPad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, give me my iPad. I'm gonna flip through the plays I need to watch because they have a tagging
Yeah.
mechanism that they use to categorize things and and he knows to go, hey, I'm gonna watch all the red stars because I know that those are all the bad plays. I'm gonna watch all the green stars because I know those are all the good plays. All right, boom, boom, boom. Okay, got it. Now I'm gonna talk to you guys and make those adjustments that we need to make.
I love
Right.
that.
So that's really the process now.
I love that. Well, looking ahead, talk to me about what excites you the most about Answers and how you see it evolving as a tool for coaches.
Yeah, I think really what we're doing now is we're transitioning the system to purely web-based. So the desktop application will be more, web-based. What that means is just it'll be right now it's a desktop application. It'll be more access anywhere, right on any computer,
Mhm.
right? Just different, web technologies that we'll use. So that's kind of what excites me the most to get that into high school and college and pro hands so that they can really amplify their work process now. But I think really just trying to really hone in on whether it's computer vision, artificial intelligence, right? All the things that people are doing now and not to replace coaches or kind of make people obsolete, but really be able to empower those guys to then be able to either save time, be more efficient, right? Be more precise and thorough without putting in more time, right?
Mhm.
Because now I want to lead from the technology standpoint, but not do it where you're building things that they don't need. You're really building things that already, exist in their current workflow, but now it's just, automating a lot of it.
I love it. I love it. So, to our audience, which is primarily coaches that are listening right now and they want to learn more, they want to get their hands on it, they want to check it out. What's their next best step?
Yeah, I think go to our website, www.answers.ai. We have a lot of sales guys in Texas. We got Coach Curtis, we got Coach Chuck. Right, we got a lot of guys in Texas. Coach Jinx, obviously Tim Prukop is here, and we can do live demos for you either on Zoom. Come to your school, right? Set up the in-game video system, right? Really get your hands on it so you can see it. You can set it up yourself, right? Whatever you want to do, right? We're available. We're in the state. We do want to help you. It's not just just trying to get a check from you. And I think anyone you talk to that's been our customers will tell you the same thing, right? Going above and beyond because we were coaches, we are coaches, right? And we just want to help.
I love that. Jon Shalala, gosh, I want to thank you not only for this interview, but for being the title sponsor this season.
Sir.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about it as we go through the year. And gosh, I can't thank you enough.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no. I look forward to showing you because it really is great. Yes, sir.
Hey, of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You do it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coach's Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Doelle, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call. The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com.